In the name of the one true God, the cosmic benefactor who is kind. All praise is due to the one true God, who created heavens and earth, forming dark regions and light. Still, those who suppress remain averse to their Lord and Sustainer. It is He who created you out of clay, then decreed a set period only known to Him. Still you doubt. He is the one true object of worship in all heavens and earth. He knows your secrets and your public affairs, and He knows the interests you pursue. Every piece of evidence from the multiple pieces of evidence of their Lord have they brushed off. They disputed truth when it came to them, but in time the predictions they mocked will visit them. Do they not see how many nations before yours we devastated? Cultures that were entrenched even firmer than yours on earth. We provided them with abundant rains and formed flowing rivers beneath them. Then we devastated them on account of their transgressions, giving rise to new generations in their wake. Had we revealed a book fully written on paper, letting them inspect it with their own hands, those who seek to suppress would call it convincing trickery. They ask, why not send down an angel with him? But if we were to send down an angel, the matter would be finalized instantly, and they would forfeit any delay. Had we made him an angel, we would have to present him as a man, adding complexity to what they already regard as complicated. They have, long before you, already made mockery of the messengers. Those who ridiculed were in the end overcome by the very thing they mocked. Tell them, travel the land and observe what the outcome was of the truth deniers. Ask them, to who belongs all throughout heavens and earth? Then say, to the one true God, who enjoined kindness on Himself. He shall assemble you all for the day of resurrection, of which there is no doubt. Those who lost their own individuality will not become embracers of this message. To Him belongs all who seek shelter by night or day, He who hears and knows all. Ask them, will you adopt a guardian other than God, He who originated heavens and earth? Who sustains and is not in need of sustenance? Tell them, I am instructed to be the first to submit. Abstain then from false worship. Say to them, I too fear the torment of that supreme day, if I should disobey my Lord. All those spared torment that day will enjoy leniency, which will spell certain success. If God touches you with misfortune, no one can remove it except He. If He touches you with good fortune, do remember that He retains control over everything. He occupies overlordship over His servants, being a fully informed judge. Ask them, what thing deserves the strongest attestation? Then say, attesting that the one true God is an eyewitness, here between me and all of you. This Qur'an is revealed to me to alert you, and anyone whom it reaches, to that fact. Ask them also, do you then really testify that there are other gods beside the one true God? Then say, I deny such testimony. Say also, it is but a singular God, and I dissociate myself from your false co-option, along with God. Those to whom we gave the book are as accustomed to it, that is false co-option, as they are to their own children. They lost their own individuality, and will therefore not embrace this message. Who is more wicked than a person who makes up lies in God's name, or denies His evidence? But He will not ever let the wicked prosper. That day will come when we assemble them all. Then we will ask those who co-opted figures with God, where are your co-opted authorities now which you adopted? Then their subversion will be reduced to stating falsely, by God our Lord, we never co-opted false authorities. Observe then how they contradict themselves, being left bewildered by their own false institutions. There are from them those who will give you a hearing. We made their minds insulated though, preventing them from grasping the message. Furthermore, their hearing is impeded. Even if they saw all the evidence, they will not accept it, to the point where they will come back to you, disputing with you, with those who suppress, claiming, this that you bring is nothing but archaic fantasies. So they lobby against it and remain aloof of it, without realizing that they are destroying none but themselves. If you could only visualize them, one day, when they are made to face the fire, pleading, how wrong were we not, if only we could be returned. No denial of the evidence from our Lord will we then make. Why instead we would be embracing. But that which they kept secret back then will become manifest to them, and should they be returned, they will relapse to what they were forbidden from, because they remain liars. Then they also make the claim, there is nothing beyond our earthly life. There will be no life after death for us. If you could only visualize them one day, when they are made to face their Lord, and he asks, is this not for real? Then them answering, indeed, as our Lord, he will reply, taste then the penalty for having suppressed. Those who deny the future appointment with their Lord are deprived, until the 0 hour reaches them unexpectedly, and they say, doomed are we for our shortfall. This as they carry their immense burdens on their backs. What a disgraceful burden they carry. The earthly life is only about playfulness and thrill-seeking. The abode of the hereafter is better for those with consideration. Does this not make sense to you? We are aware of how their words sadden you, but do realize that they are not denying you. Instead, what the oppressors reject is the evidence of God. Messengers have been repudiated before you, but they persevered on what they were repudiated for, until help came from us. There is no exchanging of the words of God. Some of the experiences of those sent before, we have already related to you. If their disregard for this message makes you feel desperate, we know that if possible, you would tunnel the earth or mount a ladder into the sky to bring them evidence. The fact is that if God so wanted, he could instantly unite them all on righteousness. Be therefore not oblivious that God is in control. Those who will answer your call are the ones who are receptive to it. As for the dead, God will resurrect them, and they will answer to him. They also state, if only physical evidence could be sent down to him from his Lord. Tell them, indeed God is able to send down physical evidence, sadly though most of them do not appreciate. As an example of such evidence, any animal throughout the earth, or any creature that flies with 2 wings occurs as a species in the way that you do. We allowed no exception in the code of nature. Unto their Lord and Sustainer shall they all be gathered. Those who are in denial about our physical evidence are deaf mutes in the dark. Whomever God wills, he will leave astray, and whosoever God wills, he will place on the even path. Ask them, suppose you meet with God's reckoning, or you encounter the 0 hour. Being honest, would you call out to anything but God then? Rather, it is unto him that you will appeal, whereupon he shall, if he chooses, expose what you are calling for in this world, while you shall have forgotten about your co-option of false authorities. We did make overtures to populations before yours. Then we visited them with afflictions and suffering, hoping that their attitudes would soften. It did happen that their attitudes never softened. Even when meeting with afflictions from us, their attitudes only hardened, while the devil legitimated their corrupt practices to them. Eventually, after they completely forgot what they were made conscious of, we opened the gates of abundance for them. Until, in the midst of their jubilation over their gains, we swooped on them unexpectedly. Thereafter they ended up wretched. And so the impact of people who spread wickedness is curtailed, thanks to God, the Lord and Sustainer of all worlds. Ask them, have you ever imagined this? Were God to withhold your hearing and your seeing, thus sealing you off sensorially, what form of deity, besides the one true God, will he bring to your mind? Observe then how we advance the evidence, in spite of which they remain averse. Tell them, have you not considered for yourselves, when the retribution of God is visited on you, unannounced or announced, will the wicked then not be the only ones to suffer? We send envoys to enlighten and to forewarn. Those who pay heed and make the necessary amendments need have no fear, nor should they despair. It is those others who deny our evidence that shall suffer the retribution because of their persistent transgression. Tell them, I claim not access to God's treasures, nor do I claim secret knowledge, nor do I tell you that I am an angel. All I do is follow what is inspired to me. Ask them, is the blind man equal to him who can see? Do they not ponder? Use it then to forewarn those who have apprehension for the assembly in front of their Lord, where they shall have no guardian ally nor advocate. Hopefully they will acquire consideration. Do not shun those who call unto their Lord, mornings and evenings with sincere devotion. They account not to you for anything, nor do you account to them for anything. Shunning them will be an indiscretion on your side. These are the ways in which we test them, using others in their immediate society, getting them to wonder, are such and such within our society more desirable to God? Rather, Is God not best aware of who has gratitude? When those who embrace our directives approach you, then say, "Serene may you be. Your Lord and Sustainer has decreed mercy on himself." The implication for any of you who commits an indiscretion out of ignorance, then seeks pardon afterwards while making amends, is that God is forgiving and kind. In this way do we elaborate true directives, allowing you to draw a contrast with the path of the depraved. Tell them, "I am prohibited from paying devotion to these things which you call to, other than the one true God." Also tell them, "I cannot be guided by your sentiments, for that would cause me to stray and fail as a true leader." Tell them, "My commitment is to the discourse from my Lord, which you dispute. That which you are rushing towards headlong is not my prerogative. That determination is with God alone. His narrative is the one that is true, and he is best at setting out things." Tell them, "If what you are rushing for headlong was my prerogative, the matter would be settled instantly between me and you. But it is not my prerogative, for God knows best who the wrongdoers are. With him lie keys to the hidden world, so none knows it but he. He knows all throughout land and ocean. No falling leaf escapes his knowledge, nor seedling buried deep under soil, nor fresh or withered stalk, all kept account of accurately. It is he who makes you depart your bodies at night, knowing what you were up to during the day. He restores you during it to live out your allotted days. Then, one day, you will return to him, when he will inform you of all the efforts you indulged in. His devotees see him as fully prevailing over them. He appoints above you minders until the moment of death arrives for each of you. At that moment our appointees make him depart, his body, never falling short in their duty. Then are they returned to God, their true guardian ally. Being quickest to reckon, should judgment then not be his? Ask them, who is it that delivers you from the harshness of land and sea? On him you call when vulnerable, privately stating, if he delivers us from this, we will be full of gratitude. Tell them, it is God who rescues you from these and other afflictions, yet you co-opt false gods. Tell them, he has the ability to send a calamitous retribution from above you or from beneath your feet, or to embroil you in painful mutual strife. Notice the way we lay out the evidence with the hope that they will fully grasp. Yet your people still reject it in spite of it being the truth. Announce then to them, I am not responsible for you. For every prophecy there is a due date, and you will just have to learn that the hard way. When you see people taking our revelations for amusement, part company with them until they find alternative means of amusement, or the devil will definitely sidetrack you. Avoid socializing with abusive people after rendering the message. Those who are vigilant do not bear accountability for them in the least. They only need to do the rendering of the message, while it remains up to those who practice discretion. Stay clear from people who take their religion for sport and recreation, being mesmerized by the earthly life. Notify them that no individual incurs liability for other than what it yielded. In this, he has neither guardian nor intermediary besides God. No compensation, no matter how big, will be acceptable from him in absolution. Those who make sport and recreation of their religion are such people who incurred a liability in their earnings. They will have boiling water to drink and suffer a painful torment for their constant obscuring. Ask them, shall we then call on other than the one true God? Call unto that which brings us neither benefit nor harm, being forced to make an about turn after God showed us the way, resembling someone induced with hallucination by demons, then ending up dwelling in a dazed state on earth. His friends calling out to him, come back to us, in an attempt to bring him back. Tell them guidance that comes from God is true guidance, and we are under instruction to comply with the Lord and Sustainer of all worlds, and to maintain observance of the code, and to revere him, as it is unto him that we are to be reassembled. It is he who created heavens and earth for a justified purpose. He will one day say be, and it will be. His word holds true. To him belongs all dominion that day when the trumpet is blown, knower of the unseen and the seen. He, the well-informed judge. A long time ago, it happened that Abraham said to his father Azar, I noticed how you adopt effigies as objects of worship. I do indeed find you and your people being severely misled. So then we gave Abraham a view of the earthly and heavenly realm, in order to strengthen his faith. When the night covered him, he witnessed a shining planet star and exclaimed, "This star then sustains me." But when the star set, he said, "I cannot adore things that go absent." Then when he saw the moon rising, he said, "This then sustains me." But when it too set, he said, "If he who sustains me does not guide me, I shall remain one of those lost folks." Then when he witnessed the sun rising, he said, "This then is my sustainer, this is greater." But when it too set, he said, "My dear people, I remain detached from falsely co-opting objects of worship. I incline to he who crafted heavens and earth with a natural inclination, and I refrain from false worship." His people argued with him until he said, "Do you argue with me in the matter of the one true God, when he has shown me the way? I have no fear for that which you worship falsely, unless it is something that my sustainer wants. My sustainer's knowledge is all-encompassing. Will this not bring you to realization? How can I fear that which you falsely worship, when you have no fear for co-opting false gods with God? And when you have no warrant for such beliefs? Which of the two arguments is more rationally satisfying, if you were to apply knowledge?" Abraham was of those who embraced the one true God, while avoiding the adoption of any wrong practices as part of their faith. These are the people who experience satisfaction while being rightly guided. Such then were the proofs we provided to Abraham to offer to his people. We raise the level of whoever we choose. He is a ruler who rules with profound knowledge. To Abraham we then gifted Isaac and Jacob, both of whom we showed the way. Before their time there was Noah, whom we showed the way. His descendants, whom we guided, included David, Solomon, Job, Joseph, Moses, and Aaron. In this way do we reward the ethical. Also included were Zechariah, John, Jesus, and Elijah, all upright people. Then there were also Ishmael, Elisha, Jonah, and Lot, all of whom we raised in stature above nations. Also some of their fathers, offspring, and their brothers did we raise in stature. We selected them and guided them to the straight path. Such then is the guidance of God. He guides whom he pleases of his devotees. If they co-opt false gods, everything they work for shall be in vain. These are the people whom we granted the code and governance and visionary status. If their people became averse to their mission, we simply entrust it to another people, not averse to it. Such then are the people whom God has guided. Let their guided state then be a model for you. Tell them, I ask no reward for this mission. This is but awareness raising for all nations. The conclusion they arrive at about God bears no truth when they stated, God sends no revelation to an ordinary person. Ask them, who then revealed the code that Moses came with, which brought illumination and guidance to people? The code, which you now turned into written sheets, some of which you show off with, and many of which you conceal. Through it, you were educated in things you and your forefathers lacked knowledge of. Tell them, the answer is, God gave it to Moses, an ordinary person. Then leave them to wallow in their empty fascinations. We revealed this blessed code as a means of correcting the message that came before it. It serves to caution the mother town and its surroundings. Those who embrace the life hereafter will embrace it, and they will guard their observance of it. Who is more wicked than a person who makes up lies in God's name? Or a person who claims I received divine inspiration when he received no such divine inspiration? Or a person who claims I shall reveal an equivalent revelation to God's revelation? If you could only observe the wicked in their throes of death. When the angels stretch out their hands, calling out, give up your soul. Today you are repaid a humiliating torture for claiming untruths in the name of God, while elevating yourselves above his true directives. Today, you all return to us individually, as we made you initially. You left behind all that we entrusted to you in your earthly life. We have no sight of your intermediaries with you, those in your society who you co-opted alongside God. All these connections have now been dissolved. That which you had such regard for has forsaken you. It is God who germinates the grain and the seed. He makes life ensue from the dead, and makes death ensue from the living. Such is God. How then can you still be deluded? God is the bringer of each new dawn. He made the night for rest. The sun and the moon serve to enumerate time. Such is the decree of the all-knowing Almighty. He also made for you the constellations of stars for you to navigate in the dark of night on land and at sea. Our evidence is clearly laid out for people with knowledge. It is He who established you all on earth from a single individual, then through ongoing settling and migration. Our evidence is clearly laid out for people who apply their minds. It is He who sends down water from the sky. With it, we bring forth vegetation of all kinds. From these we bring forth green stalks, and from this neatly arranged grain kernels. From the stems of palm trees come forth low-hanging date bunches. Then there are gardens of grapes and olives and the pomegranates, similar yet dissimilar. Do observe its fruit when it bears fruit, and at its ripening. In all this there is evidence for people who affirm truth. In spite of such evidence, they co-opt alongside God extraordinary people whom He created. Others again ascribe to Him sons and daughters out of ignorance. Yet far beyond their depictions is He, the originator of heavens and earth. How can there exist a son unto Him when there exists no partner unto Him? When He created it all. Of all things does He possess perfect knowledge. Such then is the one true God, your Lord and Sustainer. No God is there except He, the Creator of all things, whom you should stay devoted to. He possesses guardianship over everything. No gazer can see Him, yet He sees all who gaze. Fully informed and unimaginable is He. Eye-opening arguments have been provided to you now. Whoever chooses to see will benefit himself. Those who remain blind will suffer the consequences. I am not here to supervise you. So then do we lay out our evidence so they will have to conclude you are indeed schooled in this. Additionally, it is also to clarify it to people of knowledge. Follow that which is revealed to you from your Lord. No God is there except He. Do also avoid those who practice false worship. If God so willed, they would have never co-opted false gods. Therefore, did we not appoint you to supervise them? Neither are you responsible for them. Do not utter abuse at the beings they invoke besides God. This will only make them utter abuse at God in anger, while being bereft of true knowledge. We make every people's behavior fair in its own eyes. Eventually, they will return to their true Lord. Then will He reveal to them the truth of their behavior. They solemnly swear by God that if they received physical evidence, that they would unreservedly embrace it. Tell them all physical evidencing is the domain of God. Do realize, however, that even if they had physical evidence, they would not embrace. We allowed their sentiments and their perspectives to shift to such a degree that they now act as though they never once before believed Muhammad to be an honest man. So do we then abandon them to their state of defiance, wandering about aimlessly? Even had we sent down angels and made the dead speak to them, and placed every conceivable proof in front of their faces, they were not going to embrace unless God imposed it on them. And so, absent God's imposition, most of them remain ignorant. For every prophet we made appear an adversary, truly wicked individuals from the ranks of ordinary as well as extraordinary men. They inspire each other with flowery discourses in order to bamboozle. Had your Lord so willed it, they would be rendered unable to do this. Just ignore them and their concoctions. These discourses are there to incentivize those who lack any conception of the life hereafter. They also serve as a form of amusement and as a means of gain. You should tell them, shall I then long for anything other than God when it comes to forming a judgment? He who revealed the code, which is set out in detail. Those to whom we gave the earlier book know that it is a true revelation from your Lord. Be therefore not in any doubt. Your Lord's word meets fully with correctness and equity. No person can shift His dictates. He hears and knows all. If you chose to obey the majority of people on earth, they would direct you away from the path of God. They follow nothing but speculation, building fantasies. Your Lord knows full well who strayed from His path, and knows full well about those who stay on course. Partake then in that upon which the name of God is pronounced, if you are embracers of His directives. Why on earth would you refuse to partake in that upon which God's name is pronounced? Especially given that the unlawful has been clearly categorized for you, and given that necessity allows for an exception to what is unlawful. Indeed, there are many who will mislead others on the basis of their emotions, not their intellect. Your Lord, and not them, is more aware of who transgresses. Avoid that which is foul, whether the foul is obvious or non-obvious. Those who deal in the foul shall be made to pay for their ill-gotten gains. Do not partake in that upon which God's name has not been pronounced, for that would be a misdeed. Those overcome by evil do impart inspiration to their allies, so they may sway you. If you should ever succumb to them, it would make you fellow co-opters of false gods. Can a person who once was lifeless, whom we then revived and granted illumination, and who then deals with people with such illumination, can such a person be regarded the same as his equivalent steeped in darkness from which he cannot escape? It is under such conditions of darkness that the evil actions of the truth suppressors are made to seem fair in their own eyes. Under such conditions, do we allow the emergence of a depraved elite in every metropolis, strategizing therein. Their strategies only affect themselves, but they fail to notice it. When a directive comes to them, they state, "We cannot accept this unless it resembles directives of previous messengers of God." God alone is privy to the time and place of his message. Criminal offenders shall soon be struck with humiliation in front of God and meet with a severe sentence on account of their evil plotting. If God wishes to guide an individual aright, he renders his demeanor open to harmony. If, on the other hand, God wills someone to stray, he renders that person's demeanor tight and strained, as if ascending aerially. In this way does God visit torment on those who fail to endorse truth. This then is the path of your Lord and Sustainer, which is straight. And so then do we set out detailed directives for people open to advice. They shall own the abode of peace with their Lord, with him being their guardian protector. This in return for their righteous effort. On that day when they are all assembled, the word that will go up will be, "Extraordinary ones gathered here. You certainly won over great multitudes of ordinary people." Their devotees from the ranks of ordinary people will lament, "Dear Lord of ours, we found mutual joy from each other, and now we have reached the end of the term you fixed for us." God will say, "Hell fire is your destiny, where you will be forever, or as willed by God." Indeed, he is a ruler, who rules with profound knowledge. In this way do we partner off evildoers with each other based on what they incur. Assembled extraordinary and ordinary people, did messengers not arise from amongst you, who narrated my directives to you, as well as warning you of this meeting here today? They will answer, "Yes, we bear witness, but our witness goes against ourselves." The earthly life bedazzled them, and so they shall bear witness that they suppressed truth. Directives and warning from God via his messengers are there since God does not destroy cities on account of their evil when their populations are still unaware. To all there are assigned levels based on effort, and God is not unaware of their efforts. Your Lord and Sustainer is above material need, yet possesses kindness. If he so wished, he could dispense with you and follow you up with whoever he chose. This in the same way he founded your generation from the descendants of another people. That which is promised is inevitable, and there is nothing you can do to avoid it. Tell them, people, do what you will to advance your position, while I too will do my job. The truth shall yet come out for you about whose position prevailed. Never will he let oppressors prosper. They allocate to God a portion of their harvested crops and livestock, stating, "This is for God," it being their ostensible claim, and adding, "And this portion is for those we co-opt alongside God." But the portion allocated to those they co-opt alongside God does not go to God, while the portion allocated to God goes to those they co-opt alongside God. Vile is their judgment. In that same way do those which they worship falsely make the murder of their children seem fair to many pagans, for the sake of annihilating them and screening from them their true state of living. If God so willed, they would be unable to perpetrate their actions. Ignore them and that which they falsely invent. They say, "These livestock and crops are untouchable. No one shall eat of it except if we say so," their ostensible claim. "And these cattle shall not be yoked, while on these other cattle they shall not pronounce God's name." All baseless inventions made in his name. God shall call them to task for their baseless inventions. The say, "Whatever are in the bellies of these animals are only for our males. It is forbidden to our spouses. If it is lifeless, then they may share in it." He shall yet call them to task for their senseless invocations, for he is a ruler who regulates with profound knowledge. Those who carelessly abort their babies out of ignorance, as well as those who declare forbidden things which God provided to them, as senseless inventions in God's name, have strayed and are certainly not on the right path. It is he who brings about gardens, both cultivated and wild. In it palms, a multitude of edible crops, olives, pomegranates, similar as well as different. Enjoy their fruits when ripe, but do right by it on harvest day. Do not consume excessively either, for he does not look kindly on those who are perverse. Livestock can be for toil and for consumption. Go ahead and partake in what God provided for you, and do not continue to follow the legacies of the devil. He remains your blatant enemy. Given 8 heads of livestock in pairs, 2 sheep and 2 goats. Ask them, which then will be forbidden, the 2 males or the 2 females, or that which the 2 females are pregnant with? Ask them, make sense of this to me if you are right about your beliefs. From the 8 pairs, there are 2 camels and 2 oxen. Ask them, which then will be forbidden, the 2 males or the 2 females, or that which the 2 females are pregnant with? Were you even present when God instructed with this? Who is more wicked than a person who makes up lies in God's name in order to sway people without any sound knowledge? Never shall God guide a wicked people. Tell them, in all the revelation in my possession, I cannot find any food that is forbidden for a consumer except carrion, or running blood or swine flesh, because it is impure, or in negation of God, and in deification of other than the one true God. Should anyone consume such food under duress, and not out of obstinacy nor willful transgression, then do know that God is forgiving and kind. For the Jewish people, we declared forbidden every animal with undivided hooves and the fat of oxen and sheep, except what is joined to their backs or intestines, or mixed with bone. That was because we made them pay for their obstinacy. Truthful indeed are we. Should they deny you, tell them, although your Lord's generosity is vast, his retribution shall not be revoked on a depraved people. For the Jewish people, we declared forbidden every animal with undivided hooves and the fat of oxen and sheep, except what is joined to their backs or intestines, or mixed with bone. That was because we made them pay for their obstinacy. Truthful indeed are we. Tell them, overwhelming proof lies with God. If he wanted, he could set you all on the right way. Tell them, go and fetch those who testify that God made such and such unlawful. Then, even if they testify, refrain from testifying with them. Never fall for the sentimental urges of those who are in denial about our evidence, and those who remain unconvinced of the life hereafter, while equating others with God. Tell them the following, come gather, and let me render to you that which your Lord and Sustainer holds sacred for you. That you co-opt nothing along with him as worthy of sacred devotion, that you show respect and kindness to both your parents, that you abort not your babies due to poverty. We will provide for them and for you, that you stay away from sexual permissiveness, privately and openly, and that you do not kill any person whose life is made sacred by God, unless it is righteously done. Such then does God legislate so that you may act intelligently. Also that you do not touch the wealth of a defenseless child, except to enhance it, until they come of age. That you give full portion and weight, based on what is equitable. And we place on no person an unbearable burden. That when you speak, that it be with fairness, even if it goes against your loved ones, and that you fulfill the pledge of God. These then are what he promulgates for you. Hopefully it will bring you to realization. This then is the straight path which you must follow. Follow not other paths, as those will lead you away from his way. Such then does he prescribe to you in order that you will become a considerate people. So then we gave Moses the code to improve the virtuous, a code that clearly sets out everything, also as a source of guidance and a courtesy, with the hope that they would embrace the future appointment with their Lord. Now there is this blessed code which we revealed. Follow it and practice discretion, so that you may reap the benefit. Lest you should claim, The code was sent only to 2 factions before our time, and we were left unacquainted with their teachings. Or lest you should say, if only a code was revealed to us, we would have been more steadfast than them. So then a clarification from your Lord is here for you, as well as guidance and a blessing. There is none more wicked than he who denies the evidence provided by God, and then acts contrary to it. Those who act contrary to our evidence, we shall reckon with through a terrible punishment for turning away. Are they holding out until the day that angels approach them, or until your Lord himself comes, or until a special set of signs of your Lord comes? The day when such special signs of your Lord do arrive, it will be of no use to a person who then embraces, after failing to have embraced earlier, or a person who did embrace, but derived no good from what he embraced. Tell them, go ahead and hold out. We too are holding out. Regarding those who split their religion, adopting sects, you have nothing in common with them. Their issue must be referred solely to God, and he shall one day inform them about their doings. Anyone who does good shall receive it back tenfold in kind. Anyone who does evil shall receive it back in kind. None shall suffer any undeserved harm. Tell them, indeed, as far as I am concerned, my Lord showed me the even path, the correct pattern of belief, the naturally upright system of Abraham who always refrained from false worship. Tell them, indeed, my observance, my service, my living and my dying are all for God, the Lord and sustainer of all worlds. None is to be co-opted with him. Thus have I been instructed, and establishing peace and harmony is my priority. Tell them, should I adopt as my Lord and sustainer other than God? Why, when he is the Lord and sustainer of everything else? That which an individual incurs counts only against himself. No person shall be made to carry the moral burden of another. In the end you shall all return to your Lord and sustainer, when he shall reveal to you the truth of all that you differed on. It is he who made you the present overseers of planet Earth, elevating some of you above others in power. This, in order to assess you in accordance with the level of power he assigns to you. Remember that your Lord is swift in imposing consequences, but also forgiving and kind.